Thank all of you for being here today. This is a very important time and a very important year and a very important age. We have, if you may have heard, my 3 Selma police officer clients, 2 of whom are with us, the other of whom could not be here, but Jeff Hardy, Mr. Neely here, Tori Neely, and the others, Kendall Thomas, have been re-indicted. Amazing. And we say it is skullduggery at its worst. These guys were all had their charges dismissed because at a court hearing 2 weeks before, the judge determined that the investigator of the Attorney General's office, Miss Susan Smith, had been able to hear what other witnesses said before she testified, and that somehow tainted and made bad her testimony, and it did under rules of evidence. Of course, the whole thing stinks to high heaven in the first place because they're saying that somehow these guys maybe didn't say correctly what they said or misunderstood. It's just a huge big misunderstanding that grows out of personal feelings. And also, if Susan Smith was tainted by the first grand jury indictment, that taint still goes on the second indictment. And it's nothing but personal animosity and ill feeling that is driving this thing. We think that the chief of police, who we hoping he would be here today, but he's not, could have stopped this from happening. He has not. We're not sure what all his connection is, but we know that Susan Smith at the Attorney General's office is very badly connected. She used to be an evidence supervisor in what was then the evidence room of the Selma Police Department. And everything apparently got started when there were some missing guns that had been caught, and the very woman who was involved with the missing gun incident, by the way, has never been charged with anything. Still going around free. These police officers who are trying to uncover what was behind it end up getting indicted. So what does that say to them? I mean, again, it's skullduggery at its worst. The guilty people getting around and doing nothing, and yet the Attorney General's office trying to paint these people with an ugly brush, even after they got the charges dismissed once. And now, 2 weeks later, they come rushing to a grand jury. We don't know how and when the grand jury got set up, but we think it must have been set up too quick. We're not blaming the Selma District Attorney here on this. Michael Jackson, no, we're saying that somebody from the Attorney General's office working with Susan Smith got it rushed to another indictment. And from all we can see, it's the same indictment, although we're hearing this time somehow it's not a felony but a misdemeanor. I don't know what. I mean, I guess they're just trying. They had egg on their face big time, the Attorney General's office, and so did Ms. Smith. And they're just trying to wipe it off by a second indictment. That's why it's skullduggery at its worst. Now, there are some personal animosities that have existed, unfortunately, on Ms. Smith's part, we believe, toward our police officers that have led to the what has happened to them being indicted. And the police officers could speak to those animosities, but they don't really want to give any greater credit to it than already exists. Still, it's a very bad indictment that should never have been issued in the first place. And we call upon not only Alabama Attorney General Marshall to dismiss this indictment before we get a ruling again from a judge dismissing it again. We call upon everybody that's had anything to do with the indictment of these police officers to apologize to them. Selma, as you know, has got its fair share of crime. It needs its police department working together. It needs them not divided and stepped on by somebody from Montgomery claiming that they know something about an evidence problem when the real evidence thief is still walking around, we understand, scot-free with no charges against her. So we are calling upon you, and we thank all of you for being here. I know the decent crowd is here today, 20 or more, and we thank y'all for being here. We want y'all to help get the word out that these police officers deserve better, and they deserve the community's support. I mean, these were 3 of the best officers, and they were all investigators, high up, 1 lieutenant, 2 sergeants, and they were helping to make cases. In fact, they still needed to help make cases that they helped find some months ago. In fact, the Rick Howard in Montgomery, who's an attorney for the city of Selma, refuses to take any cases against these guys because he needs these guys, and these guys helped him make cases for the city of Selma. So it's a huge misstep. It's part of the continued dysfunctionalism that exists in this town. This mayor up here could do more about it if he wanted to. Hopefully the city council will try to do something about it. I'm going to be speaking to them around 5 today. But we wanted to be here to answer any questions that you might have from the media, and also to ask you to help us in this case. Help us by encouraging community support and send letters to the Attorney General and demanding that they dismiss these charges against these two innocent gentlemen and the other one that's not here today, Kendall Thomas. And again, skullduggery at its worst as far as we're concerned. They were vindicated, and it was euphoric vindication nonetheless, but 2.5 weeks ago, and then reindicted last Friday. I mean, I was sitting there in Montgomery when that storm passed through. It was really symbolic. When I got their telephone calls at about 12:30, I was sitting up the Lions Club, first one and then another. You know, we've been reindicted. I said, what? Meanwhile, the storm's blowing out so fast, taking down all the trees. I felt like it was just an evil wind blowing through, you know, that caused them to be reindicted. And that's really what it is, an evil wind that's been blowing through Selma. And it's taking these guys out, but not for long. They're fighters, and we're going to fight with them. David Sawyer, my co-counsel here. Ms. Ellison, by the way, is another client who's also been mistreated by this mayor up here. We got a case for her. Thank you, Ms. Ellison, for helping us get the crowd here tonight. And these two gentlemen here, you'll know, some of you know, should know, Mr. Torrey and Jeff Hardy. And you have any questions of us to ask?
What is the indictment about? What are they saying to give the office?
Well, believe it or not, we haven't even, with our eyes, seen the indictment. We can only go on what we have heard from our client here who has seen it. And it's word for word the same as the indictment the last time. A lot of words in there about not cooperating with or saying something false or something like that. These guys, they were the original ones pursuing the investigation. And like they somehow interfered with the Attorney General's office investigation. It is so extremely petty that there's not really words for it. Yeah, do you understand any more about what the charge is? They're giving false information. I mean, you know, policemen giving false information. It's their opinion, I guess it's false or something, but it's not false. I mean, these guys were the original investigators on the case. And somehow, for some, we think, ill wind blowing and animosities, the Attorney General's office, led by its own investigator, reigniting charges against these guys because they got egg on their face. We have a very good judge here, and Judge Collins Pettaway, who ruled in the favor of all three of them. He studied it long and hard. He had a lot of motions, and he wrote an opinion that's a classic. Talks about things like this. And he dismissed them all three.
Is it legal to be charged for the same thing?
Well, double jeopardy only attaches once you reach a certain level of involvement in the case, and that level had not quite gotten there yet. Fortunately, if we had a jury impaneled and then it been dismissed, that would be double jeopardy. If the jury hadn't gotten to that point, it shouldn't have been necessary. And this whole thing is just such a waste of taxpayers' money based on animosity and ill will, and I think they're trying to avert maybe a counter-legal action they think we're about to bring.
What do you hope to accomplish by speaking at the council meetings?
Well, I hope to get the Selma City Council involved and through them, the rest of this community and the mayor, in terms of getting these men vindicated and back to work.
That's right.
You know, the city of Selma needs them on the streets fighting crime. These were some of the best. Mr. Neely here, Torrey Neely was a crackerjack investigator that helped uncover a lot of crimes here that nobody else could have uncovered. And they needed him to testify in some of these, but I don't blame him if he doesn't. I mean, if he doesn't come, I mean, he's been subpoenaed. He's tried to help, and Jeff Hardy, I mean, he is one of the most revered men. He's a minister in his church, you know, and not that gives him any kind of exemption from wrongdoing, obviously not. But he's a good person, and he's given his heart. All three of our clients have given their heart, mind, soul, body, and spirit. So to be treated like this is just worse than outrageous. So we hope you guys and ladies to spread the word that these gentlemen need to have the charges dismissed against them at one level or another, and that the Chief Collier and Mayor Dario Melton need to back up their own Selma police force and not allow mud and eggs to be thrown at them. So we're here to defend them to the hilt. And is there anything anybody else wants to say in my group here? David, is there anything you want to say? David works with me back in Montgomery, but He's been the brain behind a lot of my motions. And these gentlemen here, we asked them to produce evidence. You know what they did? Gave us 30,000 electronic documents. 30,000? You can go, take you 6 months doing nothing else to go through 30,000 documents. So they're trying to hide whatever it is they're charging these guys. Hide it. I mean, this is bad faith and worship. This kind of thing exists in the old Soviet Union, but not in America, at least not it should be. So Selma shall rise again. I truly believe, and you guys and ladies and men need to help these officers rise again and make Selma the kind of city it can be and should be.
What about the young lady representing her also?
No, we're not representing the lady that was involved in supposedly involved in the theft of the guns.
You know, the recreational employee.
Yeah, Miss Ellison. Yeah.
Miss Ellison.
Oh, Miss Ellison, yes, we are representing her. We filed a lawsuit this past Monday, didn't we, David? David, why don't you speak to that lawsuit a little bit? Or I can speak to it if you'd rather. All right, I will. That suit has to do with you have a right to file a charge of discrimination based on sex, race, age, national origin, religion, or long-term disability with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission if you've been the victim of any such discrimination. And that Miss Ellison did. She alleged sex discrimination in her initial charge, and we think there's a lot of validity to it. But what was even more valid is because she filed that charge, holy hell broke out on her. Mr. Bandiver and others, we think the mayor too was involved, saw to it that she got first sent down the totem pole a good bit as far as her job opportunities and all that, and eventually terminated. Even though she had seniority, and though a lot of folks were terminated here in Selma, she should never have been. And so she's got a right to bring under a certain body of the EEOC federal, not in the circuit court, based in Mobile, but they have a division here in Selma. So we may end up trying it here in Selma for her if they don't want to take the right thing and give her the justice. And let me say, for these two men, and Kendall Thomas III, not here, and for Carnegie, we've sent multiple letters, maybe 5 or 6, asking the personnel board to give them a hearing. We don't ever get any replies. It's just like taking a rock and throwing it in the Grand Canyon. Eventually it may land. But with these letters, you never hear a thing. It's just outrageous stuff. It's just talk about dysfunctional government. I mean,
Would you really want to come back and work if it's being that bad, or do you want to sue, or what do you think you could come back here and be okay?
I'm following the lead of my attorney. Whatever you tell me to do, that's what
well, and I couldn't be prouder to represent these two and Kendall Thomas as well. Again, they were 3 of Selma's best. We've asked for reinstatement as an initial stage and for back pay. That may have something to do with, with this re-indictment. If they can re-indict them, they can keep from paying them again what they owe. I mean, sneaks to high heaven, to say the least. It's called doggery at its worst. Say it again. Online, yeah. Well, certainly the federal court case should be online. That we filed for Miss Ellison this past Monday. It should be online. Or did we file it last week? We filed it last Friday, so it should be pretty much online. What these guys are doing is the civil case should be online. We filed a civil case on their behalf against the city of Selma to get them the personnel board. The criminal defense case should be online, although we told the clerk's office won't give them a copy of the new charge. And I'm asking my assistant over here to run over and try to get a copy of the new charge while we're here before the clerk closes. So, and I'm going to be up here at 5 o'clock speaking to the Selma City Council. So, any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Attorney Mcphillips, I wanted to ask, how do you charge them? The first indictment was for a felony, is what I understand. And then this one, same indictment, just a different date, same wording, everything. It's a misdemeanor. How do you do that?
Well, there's a body of law that says if you attempt to do something and don't really do it, that could be a misdemeanor of the overriding crime of whatever you've been charged with. I guess that's the body of law they're going on. But David Sawyer called Mr. Harrington, the attorney for the Attorney General's office in Montgomery a few days ago, trying to get him to give us a copy, and he would not. He says until it's signed. Well, my client said he's seen it signed by a judge. Well, it's valid. I mean, the whole thing is just cat and mouse, hit and go see. I had to go see, the whole thing stinks to high heaven, as I say. And really, there are a lot of things that stink. But this is one of the worst. I mean, it's skullduggery at its worst. And so, any other questions?
With Ms. Ellison having a sexual harassment charge against Mr. Van Diver, why has Mr. Van Diver been indicted? Why is he still working?
It's sex discrimination more than sexual harassment is sexual discrimination. That slight difference. Sexual harassment is when you try to get after somebody for your own sexual needs or wants or interests. Sexual discrimination is when you discriminate against a woman, treat her like a second-class citizen, what they did to her. But and then that's all civil. It's not covered by the criminal law. And so, and I'm not saying Mr. Van Diver should be a victim of any kind of a criminal charge, but he certainly on civil claims we think we have. Yeah.
Sexual harassment.
Well, it's sex discrimination and retaliation. They have been filed, and they will have to answer an account. You know, it's not easy for these guys to stand up, but standing up with them every inch of the way. And, you know, they were Selma's finest, and y'all need it, still need it.
Right.
But they've been treated like mud. I mean, they've been, you know, and we're not going to allow it. We stand up there every inch of the way. We expect another motion will be filed soon, and that it will be dismissed by the same judge. But whatever, we'll fight it every inch of the way. Any other comments or questions?
Attorney,
Yes. Yes.
my nephew worked at the park also, and I talked to you before about it, and he got